Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The historic tax credit, the new markets tax credit, and the new Neighborhood Home Investment Act, these are all examples of using the tax code to get the private sector to do what it otherwise wouldn't do without the tax credit or the incentive. And the ownership remains private, and that's a good thing. A lot of the discussion has kind of shifted, though, to infrastructure. We're the largest economy in the world. Actually, we're the largest economy in the history of the world. And yet we're number 20 in infrastructure investment. The last time we did a major infrastructure bill was in 2005. If you want to compete with China, if you want to be competitive in the world, you can't just will it. You have to do the hard things that are necessary, and that is invest in the growth of your own economy. You know, with infrastructure, the University of Maryland says for every dollar that you spend, you get $3 in economic growth. Standard & Poor's, their chief economist, says for every dollar that you invest in infrastructure, you get $2.70 in economic growth. The tax cuts that were enacted here in 2017, for every dollar that you gave away in a tax cut to a corporation, you got 32 cents back in economic growth. So it's very obvious that the most powerful investment relative to making your economy function in a much more efficient and effective way is to invest in infrastructure. The most effective way of creating jobs is to invest in infrastructure. According to the Standard & Poor's chief economist, in 2 years, if you invest $2 trillion in infrastructure, you will create 2.3 million jobs in the next 2 years. That is 96,000 jobs every month. That's 24,000 jobs every week. That's 3,500 jobs every day that otherwise would not be created if you didn't make that investment. The other thing to keep in mind here, money is very cheap. In other words, 5-year Treasury notes today, you could borrow that money for less than 1%. So if you're borrowing money to invest in the growth of your economy, and your economy grows to a point where it offsets that investment and gives you still a net benefit, why has it taken us 15 years to seriously discuss a new infrastructure bill? It doesn't make any sense. Even the most conservative of economists say that for every dollar that you spend in infrastructure, you create $1.60 in economic growth. That's a return of 60% on the investment that you made in the growth of your own economy. 15 years, no infrastructure bill. You spent more money rebuilding the roads and bridges of Iraq and Afghanistan that you spent on rebuilding the roads and bridges of America. You spent $6.5 trillion in 3 wars in the Middle East in the past 20 years. You deficit financed the whole thing. Deficit financed the whole thing. Republicans here, they talk about tax and spending. The Republicans invented the system of aggressively taxing its own people. The Internal Revenue Service, Republican. A new federal property tax, Republican. An income tax, Republican. Progressive income tax, Republican. Manufacturing tax passed on to consumers in the form of a sales tax, Republican. Used to be the party of opportunity, now it's the party of taxing and spending. But the one thing that makes sense and that most people agree to, and what economists will tell you, is that an infrastructure investment is a sound investment into the growth of their economy. Everybody talks tough here about competing with China. We need to talk tougher and be tougher on ourselves about competing with China. What China does and we don't do is invest in the growth of their own economy, including investing in infrastructure, not only in China, but in the Middle East and Africa as well, because they understand in order to grow their own economy, They have to find investment in other places. They're going to buy the products that we used to make and sell to them, and now they make and sell to the rest of the world. I yield back, sir.
I thank the gentleman. Let me recognize the gentlelady.